There was a couple in Vern's hometown that wanted to have children, but they were having a hard time getting pregnant. So they decided to go to see a priest for advice. They were Catholic, and they thought that was an appropriate thing to do, to seek spiritual guidance. The priest tells them that they came to him just at the exact right time, since his superior just had assigned him to Rome for 10 years, and he was leaving the next day. As soon as I get there, I'll immediately light a candle for you, he promises. Time passes, and the priest returned to the little town after 10 years. First thing he did was visit the couple's home. He can hear a crazy loud noise when he knocks on the door. The wife opens the door, 3 little children on her arms, a couple of them hiding near her, and others behind her playing around. The priest counts as many as 10 of them. "Well, this is quite a pleasant surprise," the priest exclaimed. "It seems like God listened to my prayer. But where is your dear husband?" "My husband traveled to Rome," the wife answered with a tired look on her face. "To Rome?" the priest inquired. "Why on earth would he go to Rome?" She explained, "To blow out that candle you lit." God has a way of surprising unsuspecting couples with children. With Abraham and Sarah, it was not until they were close to 100 years old that Isaac was born. With Isaac and Rebekah, it's a bit different. Isaac, we're told, prayed for his wife to have a child, to bear a child, because they had been unable, like Abraham and Sarah, to do so. Perhaps Isaac or someone else was also lighting some candles in Rome. We're not sure of that. We don't hear also that Rebekah prayed that ahead of time, but we do hear that when she is able to conceive, and at one point in her pregnancy, she expressed, "If it is to be this way, why do I live?" I think that says about all. The miracle of bearing children is balanced with a struggle that began in the womb. Now we hear her pray a little bit down the way. And out of concern, she went to inquire of the Lord. God explained, "2 nations are in your womb, and 2 peoples born of you shall be divided. The one shall be stronger than the other. The elder shall serve the younger." This turned out to be truth, as when she gave birth, she brought twin boys into the world. The first, red and hairy, was named Esau, who would become the father of the Edomites, and as Sue explained, Edom refers to blood or the color red, so the red is how he's named. But when his brother emerged, he was seen grasping Esau's heel with his hand, so he was named Yaakov or Jacob, which means he takes by the heel or he supplants. It was a prophetic sign of what was to come. The 2 brothers would be linked in this struggle that began in the womb. Regardless of whether or not a parent has given birth to twins, it's quite common for siblings in a family to display nearly opposite characteristics. I think I probably will see some heads nodding on this one. One goes one way, the other goes in a different direction. One has a particular set of gifts, while another exhibits a whole other range of aptitudes. One has one type of disposition, the other completely different. One is good at sports, the other at music. One likes school, the other is not as interested. I can relate to that last one. Even though we never grew up in the same home at the same time, I know that this is true of my brother and me. I heard all the stories of how my brother never took to school. And yet he did follow in my dad's and my grandfather's athletic abilities. My dad was constantly on his case about doing better in academics. Now, I loved school, but the athletic gene skipped me on both sides of my family. Dad was always trying to push me to do various sports, but I did not excel in the ones that he chose for me to do. There is a part of me that said, but if he had chosen baseball, or if he, we'll never know that. I've come to realize that these experiences in families are not unusual. And I'm sure that there are many stories out there of similar kinds of dynamics. For Jacob and Esau, Esau was an outdoorsman, a skillful hunter, a man of the field. While Jacob liked to be inside, kind of doing his own thing, a quiet man living in tents. Sometimes, and perhaps we can also relate, these differences in temperament and personality can lead to parental favoritism, where one parent can relate better to one child than the other. In this case, Isaac seemed to favor Esau, while Rebekah took more to Jacob. The account of the pregnancy and early years of these brothers, Esau and Jacob, sets us up for what comes later in their lives, when the stakes are measurably higher. Presumably, when they were young adults, we skip ahead in what Sue read for us. Jacob is cooking. Esau returns from hunting. Famished, it says. Famished is repeated twice there. Esau wants the stew that Jacob is making. That stew it must be really good. It was driving him. He wants it badly, demands it even. Jacob, ever the opportunist, seizes the chance to secure the birthright reserved for the eldest child. Esau impulsively trades his birthright for a bowl of stew. Long-term status for immediate gratification. Jacob serves Esau food and drink, and Esau went on his way. Now, when I became a Sunday school teacher, I began to have compassion for the teachers who had taught me this story earlier on. Not easy to present a story without clear heroes and villains, without a clear distinction of who did right and who did wrong. But here it is. Jacob schemes to take what rightfully belongs to his brother, and Esau rashly discards, or as the text describes it, despises his birthright. Neither comes across well here. Neither brother is blameless in this encounter. One is manipulative and the other thoughtless and short-sighted. But isn't this also part of the family dynamic? Certain siblings that just seem unable to release themselves from whatever struggle it is. For parents, it might seem endless and hopeless. Will they ever get along? Relationships like this ebb and flow with brief or longer periods of peace before the next thing that comes down the road, the next blow up, if you will, when things go a bit sour. Or if this is less true in family relationships you've known, maybe it has been true in other contexts, among friend or friend groups, or with coworkers that are so different that those unique qualities serve to divide rather than unite. And possibly we've been in those types of relationships ourselves. It can seem as though we're locked into long stretches, if not big chunks of our lives, when it just seems to be all or significantly struggle and strain. Is there no way beyond it? Family systems theory presents a portrait of relationships that are rooted in those of families, but that can also be applied to all kinds of relationships or groups. Hence, when I took pastoral care and counseling and a couple other courses along the way, family systems theory is applied to church communities, but it could be any organization. In family systems theory, it's acknowledged that dynamics develop that become entrenched. We internalize as a system these dynamics. It takes one person, and that's the sort of miracle of family systems theory, if it's correct, one person in the system, one member of the family, if you will, to do what is known as self-differentiation, which is stepping in a direction that moves away from the typical entrenched response or behavior. It's like every member, this is how it was described to me, or at least how I envisioned it. It's like every member of the family or group is holding on to part of a rope in tension, kind of in a circle. Everyone's holding on to part of a rope in tension, and one, after holding it there for ages and eons, they just step in a slightly different direction so that the rope pulls in another way. It reorients the whole system. Everyone in the system who is connected to the rope has to respond in kind. It's not easy. I had a professor here in Detroit that I'll never forget what she said. No act of self-differentiation goes unpunished. Everyone responds, and sometimes it's not fun. It's definitely not easy. Sometimes the resistance means that others feel pressure to move when they're not ready. But there is always, always change in the system when one person, one part of the system self-differentiates. The trick is that the one who self-differentiates does not drop the rope or walk away or leave the whole system behind. They remain connected. They keep hold of that rope, just in a way, in a new way that does not diminish one's identity or sense of well-being or worth. It moves them in a new direction outside of that long-standing conflict. They remain attached but help change the dynamics of the whole system. The power that one person has to change themselves. We know from reading our scriptures that it took a long time for health to come to the relationship of Jacob with Esau. There were many twists and turns, and these are stories for another time. But in what Sue Welcome read for us this morning from Genesis chapter 25, we're presented with the foundation of what became nearly a lifetime of strain and struggle in the relationships of the family of Isaac and Rebekah. Still, God used Esau and Jacob and their difficult dynamic to accomplish a sacred purpose, in spite of the struggle and in spite of the strain. Valerie Bridgman writes, "It would be easy to demonize either of the men, but they are in a lineage that God has decided for God's own reasons to bless. Jacob is neither evil nor perfectly virtuous. He is human. So is Esau. This observation does not excuse them, but it does help us reflect on the ways that God's work gets done through ordinary people." Another story of siblings, this one from another part of the world. In the middle of rural India, surrounded by fields of rice and wheat, there was a tiny village where the sweet smell of mango blossoms filled the air. In this village, there were two siblings named Arjun and Maya, who grew up under the shade of a big mango grove. Arjun, the older sibling, was a hard-working and responsible boy. He spent his days helping their parents take care of the fields, making sure that the crops grew well under the hot Indian sun. On the other hand, Maya was a carefree and adventurous girl. Her laughter could be heard all around the village as she danced barefoot in the fields, her spirit as wild as the wind. Arjun and Maya were two best friends as siblings who were very different from each other. However, they had a special bond that seemingly nothing could break. They loved spending time together, especially in the evenings when they would sit under the mango trees. They would share stories and talk about their dreams while watching the fireflies dance around them. But as they got older, their paths started to go in different directions. Arjun had more responsibilities toward his family's farm, which had fallen into hard times, so he focused all his energy on making sure it thrived again. He had big dreams of bringing new technologies and modern methods to the farm to increase productivity and make their lives better. On the other hand, Maya had a strong desire for adventure. She wanted to explore the world outside their village and see the bustling cities that she had only heard stories about. She dreamed of experiencing new things and going on exciting journeys. These differences eventually led to difficult feelings between the siblings. Arjun would criticize Maya for being what he considered to be irresponsible, and Maya would call Arjun stuffy and too serious. Eventually, they were arguing on a regular basis and casting blame each one on the other for the struggles that their family faced. One day, a big storm came and destroyed their village. The crops were ruined, houses were damaged, and even the mango grove they loved was destroyed. After the storm, the villagers felt disoriented and didn't know how they could possibly fix everything. At first, Maya declined to assist with the effort of rebuilding that Arjun and others suggested because she wanted to go about things her own way. Arjun, in turn, felt as though Maya was deliberately trying to discredit his attempts to bring restoration. Maya perceived Arjun as being rigid and stubborn. But as time went on, they saw that their inability to come together for the sake of the village they loved was standing in the way of progress. Without Maya's ingenuity and out-of-the-box thinking, things failed to happen. Without Arjun's organizational and technical skills, important work could not proceed. One night, as they sat under a mango tree, Arjun confessed that he had been too driven to do things his own way, and Maya realized that she had been unable to see his point of view. They resolved then to work together to support the renewal of their village. Arjun knew a lot about farming, so he taught the villagers new ways to grow crops. Maya, on the other hand, gathered all the young people, and together they rebuilt the houses and other important aspects of the village. Arjun and Maya encouraged and supported one another, and their friendship was rebuilt stronger than ever. Arjun recognized that Maya was positive and full of energy, while Maya admired Arjun's determination and strength. They became a source of hope in their community and inspired others to help too, particularly those who were on opposite sides of many things and issues, but saw how Maya and Arjun overcame their differences. Many years passed, and because of Arjun and Maya's hard work, the village thrived again. The mango grove, now even more beautiful and prosperous, showed how strong they were and how their relationship made a difference. Even though they eventually went their separate ways geographically to pursue their individual life streams, siblings Arjun and Maya stayed best friends, always connected by their love for each other and their village. Truly, amazing things can happen when we can see beyond the stresses and strains of relationships, see beyond what potentially could divide, and recognize the value of the differences that we have one with another. God truly uses us in all of the things that both bring us together and set us apart one from another. The key is continuing to value the relationship, to keep trying to identify the God-given gifts that each of us possesses, and to enable the things that all too often separate us to strengthen us instead. Amen.